so want to respect everybody's time. Olga Martin is here from Business Buildery, and I'm going to let her talk about her business. But first, if everybody can introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. Well, Olga, thank you for joining us.
Sure,
today.
my pleasure. Nice to meet all of you.
Olga has a varied background. For 20 years in business.
Yes.
Lots of different areas that you have experience in. So we're very excited to hear your story and also be open to questions. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for coming. I don't have any slides this morning. I figured, we'll just have a conversation and I'll tell you a bit about myself and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. As Amy said, I have a very varied background, and that's to put it mildly. I wanted to be an entrepreneur ever since I was I can remember, and fear has stopped me for years and years. And I went the corporate route. I was a consultant, then I was a project manager, then I went to get my PhD in marketing at the University of Washington, taught marketing there. Then I came to Nebraska again, worked with the governor as Deputy Director of Communications for the state, so I handled all the media relations and all that. I started a pie bakery business. I was a pie baker with sensational pies. I haven't baked since, but they were very good pies, and I realized how hard of a job that is. I am now so sympathetic anybody who is in the food industry because that is relentless. I mean, nothing ever stops. I was a marketing consultant for a few years. That was sort of a side hustle for me. And finally, I'm the owner of Business Buildery. And so how I started Business Buildery is, it's sort of, I was telling Amy earlier that it's a new business. I started it this January is when it became official. And initially it was going to be a coaching practice for new entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs to help them figure out what to do next, to help them figure out their marketing strategy and so forth. Because I do have so many different experience in so many different facets of a business. And as I started getting my coaching clients, they would come to me and I would give them all this brilliant advice and all these brilliant tips and all these wonderful things that, we'd decide that they would do next. And they would come back 2 weeks later and nothing was done. Nothing was done. And so finally I had a candid conversation with one of my clients. She was on this, I called it a starter package. So it was a 3 months coaching starter package where, she would learn what needs to be done and we'd plan her business out and then she'd go and do it. And about a month or two, a little bit more, 2 months into it, I said, would you rather take that money and put it towards a website, that somebody else would do for you, or your social media management or something? And she just looked at me and she's like, is that possible? And I said, well, heck, I'm not seeing any results from coaching and I need to see results. Personally, I don't like my clients coming to me and, we have this awesome time together with wine and coffee usually and, all these conversations and stories about business and all these plans, and nothing would get done. So I sat down and planned Business Buildery to be actually about building businesses. So what are the components that a business needs to set the foundation for basic operations? What are the components that a business needs, to create a solid marketing strategy that will actually take you from point A to point B? What needs to be done, after you get on social media? Like what are the next steps? How do you know what content to post? All these different things. And then when you have those pieces together, then you actually have somebody to do it for you, which is what my company is. And so we work exclusively with small businesses. We help, it's a one-stop shop pretty much for digital marketing, strategy and planning. And so it's ambitious. There are a lot of different parts involved. It's still evolving big time. I'm realizing that a lot of my services are too expensive for a lot of business owners as well. So I have this curriculum of courses that I'm planning to actually have a hands-on, practical, both experience and learning for students. I'm not, I taught at the university. I'm not interested in the same type of education that a university would provide, which is very broad and very general and very rarely hands-on. When I taught my students, we did everything hands-on because that's I feel like the only real learning happens when you're actually doing something through experience. So this is what my curriculum, starting in January, I have four workshops, I call them. They're 6-week workshops. And I'm not calling them courses because, we'll be writing business plans, we'll be writing marketing plans. We'll be setting up social media and posting content and all that fun stuff. So, so that's where I'm at. A little bit about me, and yeah.
So, what motivates you, Olga? Like you talked about that you've gone through various adventures, or you've tried different things, and your business now is currently evolving. So what motivates you? What drives you?
Ideas.
Okay.
I'm a big idea person. I have files and folders and notes on my phone of ideas for products, for the next thing. For my clients, I have folders and folders of ideas for my clients. Constantly, this is how we can do your marketing strategy here. This is, have you thought about this target audience for your business? Have you thought about how to pivot this product to this market? Because positioning is so huge in business. I mean, the same product could be presented to 10 different target audiences and play a completely different role in their lives. So yeah, ideas, and then figuring out how to do it, which is more ideas, right? So I've been reading this book listening to it on repeat and reading it on repeat. It's called Obstacle is the Way. And it's a book that just helped me reframe my thinking about challenges. It's based on Stoic philosophy. So Marcus Aurelius, that's his quote, obstacle is the way. And instead of looking at a challenge, like, I don't even call them problems anymore. They're all challenges. Instead of looking at a challenge as a problem, we look at it as the way. Like, a challenge is actually a hint from the universe, to me from God, because I'm also a Christian, which way to go next. And so instead of, before in business, if I had a problem or a challenge or an issue, I would freak out and I'm like, oh, it's too difficult. I can't handle this anymore, And it was so easy to just stop, and it would paralyze me for a while. And so it would take things a while. Now I'm starting to get excited when problems arise because it makes my decision making super easy. It's like, oh, I know what to do next. It just makes it super easy to follow the path, and you still have your goals, but you know how to approach them. You know which way to go next. So if money is the problem, let's figure that out. If you don't have sales, let's figure that out. The book talks about sticking with the process and just chiseling away, just chiseling away at the problem and not letting it stop you.
But that is a mindset change, right? So that's not, you didn't go from freaking out to seeing this as an opportunity overnight. But
Years. I'm a slow learner.
Well, again, that's changing how you had thought for years about that. And we talk a lot about the entrepreneurial mindset and how important that is, and that's one of what we believe are the core values, is
Yes.
being able to deal with uncertainty and being okay with that, and being able to work through that. So,
And embracing it. I mean, the way I see obstacles now is that not only is it not an impediment to my future success, but it is literally the way. Like, this is literally the way. You know, like, money is always a problem in a new business and small business, hiring people. I want the new app for this and the new tool for that and all these different things I want to do, and constantly thinking about, okay, how do I allocate the budget for this or that? And it's just, and now it's like, maybe I figure out a different way, you know. You're looking for solutions, and the focus is never on the problem. Once you know the problem, you don't dwell on it. The radar is, okay, let's figure out what types of solutions we have. Some solutions are not going to be appropriate for you, or, you know, too much risk, but this is where you got to know what you can handle, how much risk you can handle. Can you handle, you know, taking a second mortgage on your house to fund your business? That's not for everyone. Okay, if you can't, what can you do? What are the options? Are there grants? Okay, can you find a grant? Would you be okay with a business loan? No? Okay. You know, and so you just go through the solutions. And so I'm seeing my business, as I do it more and more with clients, as just helping people with obstacles, pretty much. I mean, because that's what entrepreneurship is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Just overcoming one obstacle after the next, and
we always say, if it was easy, everybody would
yes,
do it, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds really like you utilize your strengths as you work with your clients when you talk about liking ideas and being motivated by ideas and solutions. So that's great to see that you're using what drives you and what motivates you naturally to help your clients.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, years ago when I worked for Waste Management as an internal auditor. I was recruited right out of college, and had to wear steel toe boots. That was unique. But I worked with them for 2 years, and it was 2 years of travel. It was a traveling job. So, you know, being right out of college, that was fine by me, and it was a lot of fun. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. And during our corporate training, we had like this big department training for 1 week in Houston. And it was the first time anybody flew me out, you know, paid for my ticket, picked me up from the airport in a limo. And I was 20 at the time, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is, wow. I was just blown away. And I show up with these 2 gigantic suitcases, bigger than me, for 1 week. And all these other auditors are with their little carry-on luggage. And I remember the VP of audit, I'll get to my point, I promise. But the VP of audit saw me with my gigantic suitcases, rolling them behind me, and she said, "We're gonna talk about your luggage at this training." But anyway, one of the things that they taught us was the Strength Finder.
Yes.
Strength Finder book, and we did the whole big test, you know, for the strengths. And I tell you, 20 years later, I'm still using that knowledge, and it was so handy to me. But I actually was thinking this morning how I have been focusing on my strengths for 20 years, and I'm just now learning that I'm actually, I mean, it's great, and I think that's the right way to go. But once you've mastered your strengths, I feel like obstacles are a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And it's just using your strengths to overcome obstacles and focusing on needs. You know, by now I know some things within me that I've wanted to change for a long time, and it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's just, this is my personality, this is how I was made, and it's not going to happen. So instead of looking at it as something that needs to be changed, I now work with those traits, you know. And there's fun in that. Yeah.
Yeah, we, in our company,
Sorry, I'm so chilly.
We start out with strengths and really focus on do what you're naturally strong with. So we'll probably cut this out and probably use it as an exercise. I don't know if that, I mean, it's a perfect example of don't dwell on the things that you're not naturally talented in, but really concentrate on the things that you are, even though you have to do the other things, and that's okay.
Yes.
Really set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
And so we're glad to hear that you do the
Thank
right
you.
things.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've recommended it over the years to so many people. And when I worked in IT as a project manager for a while, and at one point my team was 65 people. And I was 24 years old at the time, so I was the youngest person on the team, and I remember being so unsure of myself. You know, these people have been doing their jobs for a lot longer. I didn't know anything about IT either. and I remember, you know, actually having my team take the Strength Finder test as well, and recommending it to them, and it was helpful. It was helpful for all of us to see that we all have our individual strengths, and as a team, you know, those can complement each other so much. And we shouldn't dwell, you know, somebody is a bad communicator, so let them be, you know, but he's a great programmer. He's great with understanding requirements. He's great of turning a customer's request into something that looks amazing on the computer screen. And that is, you know, I don't care if he can't talk to clients, you know, I'll talk to clients. Just do your job and be happy, you know. And so it's just picking your battles. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So you mentioned one book that you referred to, that you read over.
Yeah.
Are there other books or podcasts that you would recommend?
Can I pull up my phone? Because I have a ton. I walk my dog a lot, so I listen to podcasts and audiobooks all the time. That's what I listen to. The book Before the Obstacle is the Way, that is actually so my PhD is in consumer behavior, so I took all the PhD level psychology courses. I'm familiar with psychology. This book was written by a psychologist who is such a brilliant, has the most profound understanding of fear I have ever heard. And she's brilliant in a way she presents it. I mean, it's deceptively simple. The Obstacle is the Way, after her book, seemed like a bunch of mumbo jumbo of long words, because it's all this Stoic philosophy and this and that. This book, it's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, is the simplest language in a book that I think I could ever read while still delivering the content in such a profound way. I listened to it twice and highly recommend. And I mean, the title of the book says it all, but she has practical exercises and all this. And if you can get past the initial simplicity of her approach, it's a really amazing book.
And especially if you know the background of that she's coming from,
Yes.
of research. Right?
Yes, exactly. Oh, exactly. Okay, then The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, I think everybody knows in here. Never Split the Difference. That's the best book on negotiation.
Okay.
And oh man, that book, I think every 2 years I listen to it again, just because it's brilliant. It's the best book on negotiation and communications. for podcasts. Let me see, where are my podcasts? Sorry, I reorganized my phone, so I can't find anything. Oh, there you go. Okay, so my podcasts are pretty eclectic. I listen to the Tim Ferriss show. I like Tim Ferriss. My First Million is a very entertaining entrepreneurship show. They have such great practical tips for entrepreneurs, and they ask the dumb questions. So they have all these brilliant entrepreneurs come to their show, and they would just ask them flat out. So you have all these rental properties. Where did you come up with the money to buy them?
Right.
You know, just like straight up. And they're like, oh, my dad gave me a little bit. My aunt came up with some. I took out a business loan. And they're like, okay, wasn't that too much risk for you? And, you know, and they talk about it, like, what was the interest rate? You know, how did you plan on paying it back? And all this stuff, like concrete stuff, which is what I love, and I think that's about the only thing that matters when we talk about business, is the practical, because business is about action, right? So I like The Hidden Brain. I think that's an NPR podcast. So they talk about how our brains work, the psychology and the chemistry of the brain, and just different various ways you can work with your own brain to help yourself either do something or feel better or whatnot, you know.
We just came from a conference and we went to a couple different sessions that specifically talked about brain health and how we can help ourselves, but also how we can help our students.
Yeah.
Given that they have different stressors and different environments than maybe what we had when we were in college, and the demographic of our students has changed.
Absolutely.
Also. So
yeah. I'm amazed with the new generation. I feel like they're so much more advanced than I ever was at their age. They're just beyond.
Yeah.
Just beyond.
And that's because of what they've grown up with. And so we advocate, let's not put them in a box. That's not how it works. They work outside of the box.
Yes,
so
exactly.
them with those opportunities.
Yeah, which I love, the outside the box thinking, yeah. And they're just so much more in tune with their emotions, and I feel, you know, and it's just like, just the sensitivity level to how other people feel is like here. But at the same time, they're advocating for themselves, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
It was like, I was recruited for an internal auditor job, you know, at a conference when I was in college, and not even 21 yet, and I was so excited, and I thought, well, this is my job, you know, this is what I'm gonna do. And then after 2 years of nonstop travel, that got to be enough. So I took the next job that somebody gave me, and it was sort of like, you know, I was just thankful for that one. So, yeah.
All right, well, those are the questions I had. Bill, do you have a question already?
So tell us a little bit more about the Business Buildery. I love the name, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm not a word person, I'm a numbers person.
Yeah.
So anytime I can screw up a name of anything, it makes me But you said starting off as a coaching, so obviously with a PhD you have a vast amount of knowledge in a subject area. You said
Consumer behavior.
Consumer behavior. I think a lot of us in this, we're here to build something outside the box. Specifically, I want to build an insurance agency. But I have different mentors that I look at and I talk to, but there's no, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. First you need to recruit 20 people or 30 people or one person. So that part of it is kind of a mystery to me. But the bottom line is, if you talk about root cause, which is what I used to do in the corporate world. The problem is you have to get it in front of enough people.
Yeah.
The bottom line is you have to have somebody in front of you to talk to. So that gets us back into this marketing. And I actually started doing some social media stuff. And I've got a couple of descriptions planned out. I was hoping to get to this week, but probably this weekend before I do it. Is the social media aspect actually something that works if you don't have a physical product? No, I mean, I have a physical, I have insurance. I don't have something you can like click on for $9.99 and have it shipped to your house.
Well, I think any tool works. Cliche if you work it. So social media, I think, is great for any product, physical or not. And I feel like it's even more so for services, right? For products that people can't feel and touch, because that's where you get to actually tell them what they're missing, right? Tell them how your product solves their pain. And social media provides a platform, I feel like, for telling the story, what your product is about. For my services as well, you know, there's very little pictures I can put up as to, here's what your business will look like. You know, I provide services, so I can't show people, but I'm constantly thinking about, okay, if I'm providing a business plan template, let's create a cover, you know, that we can use in various, to show people something on social media, on the website, you know. For your product as well, think about what's the visual that you want people to associate with your product. Is it a secure future? Is it, you know, you see those commercials for insurance and it's a happy family with a roof over their head, you know, tornado blows off their roof, but they're still happy because they have this great insurance product, you know, and whatnot. So it's just, for you, you may focus on a certain, you know, depending on who your target audience is, because we always come back to who is your client, who are you after to be your client. And the more specific you can get with that, the more specific you can be in your messaging, right? And so start there, because there is no point in starting a social media for everyone. I think that's just a waste of time. If you have, and I mean, you have to know whether your clients are on social media, what social media platforms they're on the most. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? You know, because if you're going after, you know, a demographic that hardly is ever on Instagram, there is no point for you to be there. That's just a waste of time. If your demographic is on Instagram, what topics are they looking up? Are they looking up topics related to health, to travel, house decor, fashion, you know, all these different things? You can start speaking their language. And when you speak their language, then your content starts to resonate. The one thing about social media that I tell my clients and that I remind myself as well is that it takes time to do it organically. So if you're not going to supplement your organic, you know, content posting with ads, then brace yourself for it to take some time before people start following you and sharing your content. And so, I mean, Instagram algorithm, for example, I work a lot with Instagram. That seems to be the platform for most of my clients. Changes so much. I mean, it's just what worked 3 months ago wouldn't work today. But that is only if you focus on the algorithm. If you focus on all these, I call them cheap marketing tactics, you know, dictated by external forces that are outside of our control, then you're dependent on the algorithm because your content is dependent on the algorithm. So right now, you know, if there's a cinnamon challenge happening and you want to jump on the bandwagon, you're most likely too late for that because there's a million influencers with a lot more posts with the cinnamon challenge than you will ever have. But if you're doing your authentic content, knowing who you're talking to, speaking their language, using the phrases that they find relatable, that they understand, talking to them in a way that you show them that you understand their pain, you understand what problem you're solving for them, then you'll slowly start building your audience. And eventually, you know, that's how you get established on social media. So, but it's work. Consistency is the key. On social media. Posting regularly, whether it's twice a week or 3 times a month, just do it consistently.
That brings up an interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people have the theory that you can never post too much.
Yeah.
And other people have what you're saying there is just be consistent with it. Good content is better than a bunch of gibberish.
Yes.
I know some people in I do life and health insurance. Mm-hmm. And there's one guy in particular in my group, or that does what I do. He works under the same umbrella that I work under. He posts probably 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
He has something in the neighborhood of like 5,000 or 6,000 TikTok videos.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's a lot of good information
Mm-hmm.
that's out there. But there's 5,000 videos. So it's like, okay, you know, and Matt's a great guy, don't get me wrong. But it's like, okay, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
which one of these videos do I need to watch to learn what I need to learn?
Yeah.
Because he just put out 3 videos, or, you know, in a week's time, he's going to put out somewhere between, you know, 10 and 15 different videos.
Mm-hmm.
So is that oversaturating what you're trying, the message that you're getting at? Because that's the way I see it, but I'm not the expert.
Well, you can never post too much good content, but it's really hard to produce good content. That's why usually you come up with a schedule that works for you, and that's when you post. So if it takes you, it takes me a long time to produce a good piece of content, and so I work with that. If I write an article, it takes me a week to write an article. I post once a week. Right now, I'm not really, for my own business, I'm not prioritizing social media as much. To me, it's about reaching out one-on-one to people and building connections that way for the type of product I have. As I start pushing out courses, that's where social media will come in handy, because courses, I can accommodate a lot more people, first of all, in my business. And so you got to think about, again, your goals and what you can do, and work with those parameters. So if he posts 5,000, as a rule of thumb, and I'm seeing a lot of influencers and people with large followings on Instagram doing this, is recycling content every 3 months. So you put a different graphic on it, you put a little slightly different spin. So usually it's not straight copy paste, but you adapt the content. And usually after you've posted it once, you want to do something different next time because you see a different angle, or slightly would like to rephrase some things and whatnot. So for my clients, what I usually recommend is doing 2-3 months of very fresh, very on-brand content, and then recycling it afterwards. So that way you don't spend all your time and money. In my case, people would pay me to manage their social media. You don't spend all your money on constantly having to push out new content, but rather reusing the things you have, especially educational content. If you have 3 months of everyday posting, that's 90 pieces of amazing information about your product, or amazing educational content that people will learn about insurance and whatnot. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is about courses versus workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught for 11 years at SCC, so I thought, this is going to be so easy.
Yeah.
I can put courses together. But then you hear a lot about don't do courses. And of course, it's advertisements for show you to do something different. So obviously, they're not going to promote
I know.
what I'm doing. But between courses and workshops, what would you say for coaching is a benefit to do maybe one or over the other?
Well, so I teach people how to build businesses, right? So it's very hands-on. It's a very hands-on thing, so I don't want them to walk away with a bunch of theory. For you, though, helping, women deal with court abuse and whatnot, it just depends what kind of information you have. If the information you have is mostly just information and knowledge that you need to pass on, to them, then a course I think is a great format. If it's something to do with filling out 1 million forms, for example, I would do it as a workshop. Have them bring all their forms that they need to fill out, and you just walk from person to person and help them fill them out or something. So it just depends.
So maybe not workshop, because mine are all like basically not only or is someone paying for them a lot of times, so it doesn't show up that they're getting coached. And then they have to make phone calls when they know the other person isn't calling. If they're called in. So I don't know if getting more of them together is more on a one-on-one. So maybe that would be a course instead.
Do you mean like in person, or you do everything in person?
No, I do. Well, I started when COVID. So it worked perfect because it was better for them to do a phone call at work or a Zoom on their cell phone. Now I'm starting to get people that want to actually come in physically, but not all my clients are in Lincoln.
Yeah.
So I've got people from all over the United States. I can't really get them all in the same room.
Yeah, so is your question about how do they pay for it without their spouse noticing, or?
No, just maybe would it be better if they just did like an individual course, and that way they don't have to meet other people.
Oh, like a pre-recorded versus live? Oh, absolutely. I think there's so much value in pre-recording. One, for you, it saves your time, because especially if, again, the content doesn't really necessitate for you to have to answer questions live, which you can still do. So one format I really like is pre-recording or doing the course for the first time live, recording it, then making it available to people, and then having it so whoever takes your course next, they might have the ability to have a chat with you, schedule a time to actually have a chat with you in case they have any questions. Yeah, that's one idea. Yeah. Yeah.
I just finished reading Tom Rath, Vital Friends. I brought the book. If anyone wants to borrow it, I'm through with it, so feel free to have it. Yeah, he talks about how friendship in the workplace. I know you're an entrepreneur, so maybe you're a worker, you're an employee. He gets into, is this person an energizer, this person communicator, connector? So he gets into the different kinds of benefits that a best friend has in the workplace with engagement and such. Is that in your experience something that's true? Do you have a best friend at work, or?
Well, my best friend and I actually started a business together a few years ago. It was a skincare company. I don't talk about it very much because then COVID started, so it didn't go anywhere. But we had a website and a line of skincare we designed. My dream is to go back to it someday. I think, so in general, I am not a big fan of partnerships in business because that can ruin friendships. In my case, my best friend and I actually had a conversation before we started, and we agreed that friendship will always come first. So if the business isn't working, we're gonna abandon the business and save our friendship. As far as my corporate experience and working in an office and having friends, I think that makes a huge difference. I always had a office bestie. And I think it makes such a big difference in terms of being motivated to come to work every day, you know, staying at the office later than necessary. I feel like it made me a better and more productive person to work with. And actually, there is research I read about a year ago by, I think, LinkedIn maybe, that looked at why people quit their jobs. And the number one reason was because they didn't have a friend in the office. Number one reason, and I have goosebumps. And now and ever since I read that research, I was like, gosh, I started looking, you know, at where people live and where people communicate, like where people congregate, you know, if they have somebody like a coffee shop, they know the barista, you know, they come in, they know a few details about that person, the other, you know, they can check in, they can ask follow-up questions. The odds of that person coming back to that coffee shop are so much greater. And you know, my one of my research papers that I wrote in the PhD program was on loyalty, brand loyalty, and what makes people loyal consumers and loyal customers. And I think this friendship piece makes a huge difference, the personal connection. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah.
So are you familiar with Jamie Kern-Lima?
Mm-mm.
She's one that started her own makeup business.
Mhm.
And she's got an amazing journey, and she's got a couple books out. I'm reading her second.
Oh, is that the It Cosmetics? Oh, yeah. Oh, I love her. I'm wearing her makeup today. Well, she sold it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she's still in control of it, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, okay. I didn't know that, yeah.
I haven't read her first one. I'm reading her Worthy right now, which
Mhm.
is an amazing book.
Oh, I love her. Every talk with her, she's so good.
She's got a podcast now, too.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll add it to my list.
She interviewed Oprah. Oprah was her first interviewee.
Wow.
3-hour podcast. So
Oh
it's
my
3 parts.
gosh. Oh, I'll have to
Every
listen.
hour that Oprah's ever done.
Yeah.
Okay. So your courses, I love that idea because I love self-education
Mhm.
of it because you can make money in it, you know, because people buy your courses
Mhm.
and they're learning something.
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. I called it the Business Buildery School. Yeah.
Any other questions for Olga?
Actually, yeah. So when you're working with people to build their websites and that sort of thing, are you a specialist in any particular platforms? Because we have
Mm-hmm.
certainly different businesses have different needs, and a lot of the platforms that are coming online now.
Yeah.
We just finished a book doing Automate Your Busy Work that really talked a lot about all the different kinds of tools that we have now. A lot of people here use HubSpot. SEC uses HubSpot.
Mhm.
Are there platforms that you specialize in?
So for building websites, I love Wix. My website is built on Wix, and most of my clients. The reason I like Wix is that it is very intuitive and easy to manage yourself, which most of my clients, you know, after I build a website for them, at first every client has the option of being trained on how to manage their website themselves. It's a 2-hour training, and afterwards, you know, they don't have to depend on me and my business and paying a monthly maintenance fee. And Wix is very easy for that. I've worked with WordPress as well. So Wix and WordPress, I compare them as iPhone and Android. Android, you can do anything, but it's a little complicated and not very user-friendly if you don't know what you're doing. iPhone has these beautiful features and things, but if you want something very specific, you're going to have to find a workaround. It's possible, but you're going to have to find a workaround. And so, so WordPress is great for e-commerce. Shopify, I think, is number one. For social media management, you know, Hootsuite and all that. So yeah, we go back to some tools over and over, yeah. But for websites, I think Wix is the simplest.
Is that what people are looking for, you think?
Well, people are looking for different things. Just depends, you know, some people want to be very hands-off, in which case, depending on, so like one of my clients wanted to do courses, exclusively courses and memberships. For her, Kajabi is, you know, number one. Now, another client came to me, Kajabi is too expensive for her. It is an expensive platform. It's amazing, but it's very expensive. So then we go and, okay, let's think about Thinkific. Like there is a million other different platforms that are not as fancy, but less expensive to use. So it just depends on the budget, depends on what the person needs. For Kajabi, you know, if all you plan to do is courses, it might be worth the investment. So it just depends on.
Isn't that kind of pricey? I looked at that one.
Yes. It's, last time I looked, I think it was about $3,000 a year or something. But, you know, if all you plan to do is courses, it might be worth the investment to just invest in Kajabi up front, $3,000. You know, you'll have to design it as well. But then you don't have to worry about migrating your content a year or two down the line, and all your contacts stay in one place, so you can do automated emails, and everything is seamless, you know, all your marketing and everything. So it just depends on what your goals are. Anything else, you guys? Let me, can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
What motivates you guys to have a business? I mean, entrepreneurship is hard work.
I think it's natural to some of us. I mean, I look back at my family history, and my dad was always self-employed. My grandfather was self-employed. On my mom's side, they're all farmers, you know, which is the ultimate self-employed.
Yes, yeah.
There's no other job where you have to be a agronomist, a marketer.
Yeah, a mechanic. Yeah.
There's literally all of it,
Yes.
wrapped into one crazy job.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's just something that, you know, was there.
Yeah.
And then people in our generation, we're raised by people, you know, the post-World War II, you know, when you get into the 60s and 70s, everybody got that factory job. And then I think that's where a lot of things changed for a lot of people, especially in this area, where it was like, you got to go get a good job.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Family.
Yeah.
I think that kind of took away from that mentality for a lot of people, but I still think it's there in a lot of people, especially in this room. Very obvious that a lot of people sort of have that spirit.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah.
For me, it's changing the past. You know, I felt like I wasn't taken too seriously as a youngster, and so starting this business is another opportunity to increase my ways to help people. There's innovations and things that I can do in order to help people solve their problems. It's not about the money for me. Poverty is a real horrible thing. People smoke cigarettes, and if they were to invest that money, if they smoke a pack a day, if they invested that money at 8% interest, they'd come up with $250,000 by the time they got to retirement. Yeah, reading the Wall Street Journal, it goes into saying, do you like reading the Wall Street Journal? There's very good information in there. Yeah, it says that if the Cavendish banana is going into, it might become extinct because there's a couple different diseases against it. So they've been figuring out different ways to come up with a new banana, because if you look at apples, there's many different kinds, you know, Granny Smith, the Pink Lady, Red Delicious, but there's only the Cavendish banana, so, and it's cloned, so it's very susceptible to disease. And so we're figuring out They have different ways in Australia. They're coming up with a banana. It is viable, but the taste isn't quite there. So if we breed it out, we can hopefully get this situation fixed before the banana becomes extinct. So like that, the roof coatings that my business does, it's aluminum. And if you look at the flat roofs, it soaks up a lot of the heat from the sun. And so the AC is so expensive over the summertime with global warming coming up. And so the aluminum is reflective on that. So if you mix it into the roof coating, it's a very, it's a saturated market. So there's 600 different options you can have for the roof coating. And if I can develop, and I have been researching this, a way to put aluminum in the roof coating, we can lower the AC bills, and that'll make everyone happier because greenhouse gases are going green. So that's just a tip of the iceberg. Yeah, that's why I run a business.
That's awesome. I like that.
I think I have a couple of reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, my dad, it was his sole income. So my mom felt that was really important to
Mm-hmm.
with us. We didn't know that because my mom canned, had friends' gardens that she picked from, so we never saw have anything less.
Mm-hmm.
It was just we knew we had her consistently at home. And so I attribute, he had done door-to-door sales, which is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like that got me started, like for all the different skills of any job that I've held. But then, since I'm a survivor myself, all the things that weren't available to me, I just wanted to make them all available together in one spot. And I worked with like 32 different organizations when you deal with domestic.
Wow.
Well, number one, you're just not in the mindset for that. And that's just, you have to keep track of that many phone numbers, that many faces. And they never all come together in one place. And so that was really important that a survivor have like one spot. And we can sit on a phone call together, I can listen in, or we can all get on a joint, like me and the client and her attorney or therapist or tax person or whatever, can all get in an email together if need be. Just ways to make it, if they forgot about the conversation, because they were in a mind fog, they can go back to that email and know what all of us said, or all of our names. Because I remember I forgot names a lot at that point in time. So that was just really important to make something available. I started in COVID, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought, what am I doing? You know?
Yeah.
But it was important to me as well, from what I received as a child, to be available to my kids. So crazy enough, as a single mom, I stayed at home until all of them started in school. They had everything they needed.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw a new pair of shoes until they were all in school. But it was so important to me that I taught at SEC, so I could pick the classes I taught, and pick the evenings I taught.
Yeah.
And then I added, one thing at a time. To always have 2 self-employed jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
So that it always worked, so I never missed a parent-teacher conference. I never missed a game.
That's awesome.
Overwork.
Yeah.
That was just, like you said, our generation, it was values that people don't see anything wrong. Well, I'll take this kid, you take that kid.
Yeah.
And I just never wanted that. I wanted to include all of them so that they all felt they were treated equally.
That's cool.
So more of, I guess, family values.
Yeah.
drove me
I
to
love that.
So.
Yeah. I like that.
All right, well, thank you, Olga.
Oh,
We
thank you
appreciate-
so much. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Before everybody leaves, we do have an announcement. Our team has made the decision that we are no longer going to host Perk Up. We have really taken a look at it over the last couple months and assessed that maybe there are other things we can do for networking in the future. We don't know exactly what that is going to be. But this has been in existence for 10 years with the same format. And so we are always looking for innovation, looking for new ideas. So we will send out information to everybody on our email list, but we wanted to let everybody know that was here, that Olga is our last.
Oh my gosh, what an honor. I'm so glad I got in
Yes,
at the last
absolutely.
second.
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah.
So again, we are always here for you. We always have been, and this will just not be the format that we will interact with you in the future. So thank you all for your ongoing support of this event and the Entrepreneurship Center. So we appreciate it.
Wow.
Well, we want to tell you thank you.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I taught here and was welcomed in as a suite owner, which to me is full circle. And then you did my strength finders. You guys gave me my, like, first or second speaking engagement. So this really, for me, really got me started and got me excited.
That's awesome.
3 years later, I'm still at it.
Yep.
So that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Right. And Olga's here for
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you for bringing treats too.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Help yourself, you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. Do you have business cards?
Oh, I might. I don't know.